Why, hello there. If you don't already recognize my sultry voice, this is DJartt of the High Score 510 podcast. First of all, I would like to thank you for listening to our show. Second of all, I want to remind you with a shameless plug of our Patreon page. Join our growing community and help support an indie podcast. The perks of being a patron, you ask? Number 1, you'll get our weekly quick hitters. Number 2, you'll get feature conversations that are too hot for our regular show. And number 3, we cannot leave out number 3. Why, Jesus will bless you. So go check out patreon.com/highscore510. And for the price of a tall pumpkin spice latte, you can help AG3 afford his Peloton subscription. Regardless of which, we appreciate your support and hope you enjoy the show.
You are listening to High Score 510, where real talk is our vernacular.
You know what? Thank God my dad had some pull. And we went to the morning service and then Sunday school. And after Sunday school, we had to be home to watch football and basketball. Thank God my dad had that much. And my mom went home and we made some grits. Also, my mom made grits. But let me tell you this. If someone would have gave me a sample of brunch back then when I was younger, let me tell you what I'll be on Sunday. I'll be with Little Nas X putting on my Air Max 97s and going to get brunch.
And Aaron showed
and
up.
Getting lap dances from whoever.
Aaron moved away from home and didn't have to worry about missing brunch. Didn't have to worry about missing brunch because of church, and was like,
I am delivered.
Exactly. I'm yelling like him. That's the prodigal son. See, he went back thinking he had brunch. He promised he already had his brunch with Lil Nas X. And now he feeling bad. He trying to repent in church. I'm trying to get my brunches with Lil Nas X.
in sports news, Michael B. Jordan said Sylvester Stallone won't be in the next Creed 3 movie because the franchise is moving on.
No, it says moving forward. It don't say moving on.
Moving forward. Aaron, tell us, how did this conversation go? Hold on.
What would Michael B. Jordan do?
Michael B. Jordan is moving the Creed franchise forward without Sylvester Stallone, who will not be there to train him, make him vomit, or do other masculine things without a shirt on. AG3, what will Michael B. Jordan do?
Hey, Sylvester Rocky, I'm gonna take this franchise off your hands. We're gonna move it forward by taking 3 steps backwards for every 1 step we take forward. Why can't we just move the franchise? Just kill the franchise. This is studio company greed. It reminds me of the original First Blood. Not Rambo, because the original name of the movie was First Blood. The original ending, which they had dual endings back, they taped 2 endings, was Stallone killed himself. Spoiler alert for anybody that ain't seen a movie that's almost damn near 40 years old. He does this great speech and then he kills himself. That's the perfect ending. He had to film it twice because the studio didn't want it, even though they didn't think it would have a sequel. Because the first one isn't about like all this muscles and Stallone doing all this crazy shit. It's realistic. And they were like, no, we can't have him dead. We'll have him get arrested at the end. And it would have been so poignant if he killed himself, because it was about him being, returning back from Vietnam War and losing part of himself over there and the nation not wanting him back and how he was treated in some small ass hick town and stuff like that. And so it reminds me of what we talked about first with the animal mixing the DNA and the organs. People don't want to die, right? Like, it's okay. It's nature. It is part of nature. We live, we breathe, we die. It's sad when it happens to people too soon or unnatural or way early. But things like movies, this is the thing we should be killing, right? All right, you had Creed. It was successful. It was I guess you can say good. Then you had Creed 2. It made money. Now stop there. And now we're on Creed 3. You know what? We might as well just have a Fruitvale Station 2 while we at it. A Fruitvale Station 2. And that's what we might as well do.
You know what? If they bring in, they're gonna have to replace Sylvester Stallone. They're gonna have to bring in
a buxom woman with big breasts,
because they're gonna have to push the story somehow. Michael B. Jordan, I don't think, can carry the story himself. He's gonna be over there training somebody, be like, no, give me them gloves. I'm gonna take them gloves off your hands.
Stallone probably left because he's like, man, hey man, this movie making me look old. I got to go star in these other franchises where I still act like I'm an action star.
Yeah, it's like, well, be with a bunch of other washed up old motherfuckers so we can all be equal.
Exactly. I bring in another 70-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger. We just make an action movie.
Stallone came out with this comment when he saw the article.
So what did I miss? What did I miss?
Yeah, he did not know. He was broadsided by that. But anyways, Creed 3 should be a shit show in 3/4. Excited to see it. Yeah.
Keegan, you like Creed 2?
I can't remember watching it.
Pietro, are you watching Creed 3 without Sylvester Stallone, or are you good with it?
I'm probably not watching. Yeah, I'm not watching Creed 3. I haven't watched many movies anyways, but yeah, Creed 3. After I actually enjoyed Creed 1. I know Aaron mad at me about saying this.
Well, it had some entertainment value.
Yeah,
right?
But I enjoyed it.
Didn't make sense, but it had some entertainment value.
I actually enjoyed it. It was the first time I went to one of them theaters with the reclining chairs and everything, so I was relaxed. Maybe that was the whole ambiance was the thing, and I wasn't really. I was tricked by my comfort and not really paying attention to Michael B. Jordan's acting. But Creed 2, Creed 2 and Black Panther made me agree with Aaron, and which I don't do that often.
I thought you were gonna say you don't do enough.
You know what? I'll see Creed 3 just to piss off Aaron.
Oh, you can see it all you want, as long as you ain't spending my money on it.
I'll spend his money on it. His money on it.
Hey, Aaron, since you didn't give me nothing for my birthday, I want to go see Creed 3 with you.
Thank you.
Oh, there you go. That's right. That's it. Yeah, that's his birthday wish, Aaron.
I bought him a drink, man. That counts. Something.
But nah.
If we go see Creed 3, I guarantee you, we could go to the movie theater to watch it, but I'm gonna pay for another movie, and then we could just walk in.
You know what? The drink that Aaron paid for was called hot chocolate.
Aaron gonna buy Space Jam 2 tickets and sneak in.
I'll be like, hey man, what's the independent film you got here? Give me 2 to that, and then we gonna walk straight into Creed 3, and I will promptly go to sleep.
Are y'all ready to start the show?
Did it start already?
Yeah, let's start the show. Let's start the show. All right, Armin, I need a letter.
L.
L. Okay.
A.
No, I'll do L. Lakeview.
Let me go the other direction.
Hey, yeah. Logmire, Lakeview.
Longmire, I've seen that on Netflix. I've never watched it though.
Me neither. Litigious, languishing. I always love to say this one. Lupita Nyong'o. Lupita Nyong'o.
Ludwig,
yes, it's a good one. Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie. You see that cornball brother on American Idol? He'd be over there like, "Oh, I like this. Yeah, sing that. Ooh." Dude, you gotta see him when he gets juiced. You're like, "Oh yeah, snap to that." I was like, this dude is a cornball brother. Aaron, you want to talk about a cornball brother? Lionel Richie.
You know what? He was from Alabama though. He all that started once he got to California. He was in Alabama. Like if you notice when he sang with the Commodores, he had that country twang still in his voice.
I'll tell you this. At
It
least
was
he ain't
plain to see that a small town boy like me just wasn't your cup of tea. It was wishful thinking. See, that's that country swang. Then all of a sudden he gets by himself and living in California for too long and it's, hello? Is it me? Yeah.
You can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your eyes. At least he's not your boy Herschel Walker type of Negro.
Hey, he gonna be the next black GOP senator, Herschel Walker. Yeah. I'm trying to start a new party called the Grand Old Idiots. I'm gonna restart the Dixiecrats, but it's gonna be all black politicians from the South who just normally will be in the GOP.
But don't he have a split personality disorder?
If the split personalities is being him and his son being idiots, I agree.
Who has split personality disorder? Herschel
And
Walker?
racism don't
Herschel
exist.
Walker. Yeah.
That he want to go field Negro on the field, and he want well, I guess he's staying consistent, and then he'll be house Negro when he's in the house.
He need more CTE.
He got a dissociative identity disorder.
It's like, hey, man,
maybe that's why his son is so damn crazy too.
Maybe that's what happened because he played football, got CTE, then went to USC and got the CTE knocked back out of him. And now he's just an idiot.
Okay, enough of this black supremacy talk.
Oh God, you gonna play it for us, Jerry?
This looks like it's gonna be interesting.
Is that Hirsch?
Yeah, that's Hirsch. Hirsch got a huge house.
See, Herschel Walker gonna see
a spiral staircase baller though.
Also, a big fire going on in the background, and he talking about, oh yeah, we don't need reparations, even though I got this mansion I'm living in. Black people don't need reparations. As I speak from the spiral from the what is it, the foyer with a spiral staircase and a hanging ceiling lamp. That's probably cost about $10,000.
Hey, look, him towing the line is paying for that. That's why he's so upset at you Negroes.
Y'all gonna make me pick a side. I don't want to pick a side.
Here we go. Here's Herschel Walker talking about reparations.
Black and white teams has become a hot speak on reparation, which has been spoken about many times over my lifetime, but over the past year has become a hot topic. I asked the question why. There's been many surveys show that a large percentage of black and white teens would say racism is better today than yesterday. We use black power to create white guilt. My approach is biblical. How can I ask my Heavenly Father to forgive me if I can't forgive my brother? I never want to put anyone's religion down, but my religion teach togetherness. Reparation teach separation. Slavery ended over 130 years ago. Many have died trying to get into America. No one is dying trying to get out. Reparation, where will the money come from? Does it come for all the other races except the black taxpayers? Who is black? What percentage of black must you be to receive reparation?
What's
Do
black?
you go to 23andMe or DNA test to determine the percentage of blackness? Some white immigrants weren't here during slavery, nor their ancestors.
Who's the white woman in the background by the fire?
Slavery. Stated
I don't know,
all
but she's
men,
beautiful.
black, white, and today Latino, Asian, Italian, etc., should be guaranteed the alienability rights of life, freedom, and the pursuit of happiness. Years later, after slavery ended, Dr. King, I Have a Dream speech, said, the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was a great beacon of light, but hundreds of years later, we're still not free because of segregation and discrimination. Today, I call that reparation. If you give a man a fish, you feed him a day. You teach him to fish, you feed him a lifetime. Black Americans asking for a hand up, not a handout. Another big question, who is the guilty party? Should we start at the beginning where African Americans sold the African American ancestors into slavery and to a slave trader who eventually sold the African American ancestors to slave owners? The slave owners who had no success and no luck trying to make a Native American whose land they took become their slave because the Native American ran away. Well, they thought it was fine then.
I gotta stop there.
There's so many things wrong. There's so many things wrong with everything he said.
I think Stephen Miller wrote that essay for him, and they're like, "Read this, nigga." And he's like, "Okay, emancipation, blick." It's like, bro, are you from South Africa? But you're blick.
The first thing he said was that he took a survey of black and white teens, and they said that it's less racist now than it was back then.
Like,
why the fuck are we interviewing teens?
Teens about
why are you
What the fuck is doing cinnamon challenge
Hold on
and
a second
shit?
here, man. I'm just seeing this. He's testifying in Congress?
Testify
against the reparations
Who is he
bill.
testifying to? Who is there? Why isn't anybody? Who is?
He gets a certain amount of minutes to speak, so like he goes uninterrupted. Steve Cohen said something though, so I think he interrupted a little bit.
This sounds like it was on like on Zoom, and they needed to mute him. Like, all right, we're done.
We're done here.
Who's
He
going
looks
to? We're
good
going to
too,
the
man.
next
Like Herschel
person.
Walker, man. You look great. You're in great shape, dog. Why are you being a hater?
That's that Georgia University education right there.
Bruh, the killer to me is that he tried to break down why slavery worked with black people because originally it didn't work with the Native Americans. Oh, wait a minute. So you're doubling down that these motherfuckers were just trying to enslave people.
They ran away.
But the only reason why they couldn't enslave the Native Americans is because they ran away. Like, nigga, it's like, how wrong can you be? They ran away to them reservations. They said, we'll just take this part of the land. Y'all can have the rest.
They gave them those reservations much later. They didn't run away. They got killed off. And those that were left, they're like, oh, don't worry. We realize we fucked up. So we want to look better. We got this great piece of land out in the middle of nowhere that's dry as hell. Since you guys are good at living off the land, we'll give you this dusted all limestone plate and call it a reservation.
We'll give you red clay and see you grow any crops out there.
Hey, they would have been happy to at least get red clay. They're like, hey, man, can we at least get the red clay?
I babysat Donald Trump Jr. at the football games. He's like, can you believe that shit he was saying? Do you remember that? He was like talking about, like, reflecting about how cute it was when he was babysitting Don Jr. I was like, man, this guy.
You know he lying because he was playing for Donald Trump's team. So how the fuck is he babysitting? I babysit him during the games.
Come on, Hersh.
Come on, Herschel.
Come on, Hersh.
You had that football in your hand running east to west. You're not babysitting shit.
He never. They took him to every stadium. They say he cannot play at any stadium where it goes north to south, y'all.
Because they're like, man, we ain't gonna make it seem like he's running from the south to the north. He got to go east west.
Yeah,
they probably lied to him if the stadium did go north to south. Hey, don't worry, Herschel. That's nah. Even though the sun's on your right, you still running west and east.
It was north to south. They'd be like, let's pull him out of the series. We're going south to north right now. He ain't in it. He in the protocols of the series.
The look on Matthew McConaughey's face in that video you have on the side is how I felt when I was watching it. You see that little look at the ending of Interstellar? That's how I felt when I was watching that entire film.
Let me just hear this part one more time because I just couldn't get over this.
And no luck trying to make a Native American whose land they took become their slave because the Native American ran away.
I swear, it looks like he has a little bit of a smile while he's saying it too.
He's just reading the check. He's like reading a check right now.
It's like a little bit of a twinge of a smile.
Like, if you say this line, we'll give you an extra $500K. He's like, okay.
He's reading the check.
Hey, no lie. If you ever seen Super Troopers and dude was like, I'm gonna try and see if I can fit meow in every sentence. That's what it feels like right now with Herschel Walker. Like, if I can just like fit as much dumb shit into like this testifying as possible, I'm gonna get like a huge ass check.
They gonna give me extra money, every bonus for every word that I skip over. Every what is it?
Was it blight or blight?
No, he's getting tongue twisted. He's trying to turn black into white, so he said blight.
Blight. It'll be the same. Blight.
Shout out to Herschel Walker. Yo, ignorant ass, get this.
This magic moment.
Nigga speak worse than Aaron sometimes.
Come on. That's how a lot of Richie used to speak.
All right. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. You are listening to the High Score 510 podcast. You can catch us at High Score 510 on the Instagram, the YouTube, and the .com, and the Twitter eventually. You can also check us out on Patreon. Also, we are going to be having a giveaway next month, the month of May. We will have a giveaway. So if you sign up for our Patreon, you will be involved in the giveaway, White Boy Summer giveaway. So be ready. Aside from that, we are here with...
this is Aaron Grayson III, also known as AG3. Just trying to enjoy this White Boy Summer. Getting ready for it.
Here we go. AK-47, the very best there is. When you absolutely, positively got to kill every motherfucker in the room, except no substitutes.
And we are here with...
Hello, everybody. It's everybody's favorite friendly truck driver, Captain P-Funk, coming to you from the great white nation of Grand Junction.
You would wake up some mornings, I shouldn't even say some mornings because you slept for like 15 minutes at a time, and be looking for crack and just smoke whatever was there?
Yeah, I spent more time on my hands and knees picking through rugs smoking anything that even remotely resembled crack cocaine. I probably smoked more Parmesan cheese than anyone that you know, I'm sure, Tracy.
You gotta respect that dude for that interview right there. That's some legit honesty with like no ego. Wow.
Right? I like how she laughed at it too. She was like,
How could you not, man? That was like pure honesty. That guy was just like, hey, that's real.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people I work with have done the same thing he has.
Jedediah, that's why he got them pet rats running around.
Exactly.
Shout out to Hunter Biden. Come on our show. Sponsorship. And we are here with...
What up, y'all? It's Kiegan, KGB, Sticky Kies coming at you faster than lotion on keyboards.
Hot boy, white boy summer. Got your favorite Instagram bitch, DM in her number. Woo. Hit the strip club at Mike Thunder. Woo. She let me beat it, I'm the white boy wonder. Bad gal, white dandada. Rude boy, it's a white boy summer. Bad gal, white dandada. Rude boy, it's a white boy summer. That's Gianna's all out by the cabana.
Thank you, Jay. I actually appreciate that. There was a lot of booty shaking, which goes with the Sticky Keys theme. I like it.
And he was wearing a Jamaican flag, though. Like, well, all he need left was a Belizean flag for you, Keegan.
Hey, Aaron,
like
was that the Chet Hanx that you was talking about? Where
that's
he spoke for?
That's the one I'm talking about. Tom Hanks is rolling over in his grave. That's not even dug out yet.
It's that boy Chet tonight.
I think Tom Hanks funded that video.
Tom Hanks funded that dude's whole life.
Yeah, Tom Hanks is funded and enabled whatever the fuck is going on here. I did IG. I DM'd on IG. Shout out to Chet Hanks with the X sponsorship. Come on our show. We messaged you asking if you want to come on our show and talk about your white boy summer plans. So hit us back. Hit us back.
You really messaged him? That's great. That is great.
He ain't gonna come on here.
I hope he does, man. I hope he does.
All right, and we are here with...
Hey, Fizzle, Armin, Persian Dream. What's going on? What's good? Appreciate being on, y'all.
You bring the crowns and heads of conquered kings to my city steps. You insult my queen. You threaten my people with slavery and death. Oh, I've chosen my words carefully, Persian. Perhaps you should have done the same.
This is blasphemy. This is madness.
Madness. This is Sparta!
That's not cool, man. They did the Persian dirty right there.
I just realized. Well, I didn't just realize. I've been noticing this. See how Hollywood flips the script?
Yeah.
You see that? It's like, yeah, y'all Negroes trying to make us slaves. Kick your ass in this hole.
Like you will not own me.
That's not the last time Zack Snyder did a black person dirty.
I must have missed something.
See, that's the reason I didn't watch that movie, man. I knew they was gonna make that shit.
Definitely the worst movie, one of the top 5 worst movies ever made.
I knew that. Yeah, I was like, I knew they gonna make the Persians look like. Remember in the commercial, they had the Persians looking like monsters and shit. I'm like, come on, man.
They look like aliens and shit. They had like, they had like multiple nipples more than they should have. I was like, what is? He got like 8 nipples and like three extra arms. It's like, what the fuck is going on here?
I was gonna watch that racist ass shit, dude.
That shit was totally racist. It was like, see, this is why we had to make black slaves. Y'all did it first. We got film.
Yeah.
And y'all had 8 nipples.
It's like it confused us. We were scared. We had to fight back.
Did you see that giant Negro? You think we want y'all manifesting that?
And that's what's the crazy thing is how all the Spartans had on no clothing and had their muscle showing, and there they had my boy Del Torre from Spartacus as a Persian wearing all kind of fine robes and shit, heavy as hell. He was gonna fall in that hole anyway because he had too much. He had about 130 pounds worth of robes on.
A stiff wind would have knocked him and them drapes into that hole.
Exactly. It had
As hard as he kicked him, he fell straight down. Like he kicked him in the chest. He just said, ugh. It looked like he just kind of sat. He sat there in the hole.
Yeah,
it's funny, man. The real history of the Spartans is hilarious because they were just like the most garbage collection of like idiots ever. And, like have the shortest lifespan of any like organized group because all they could do was run around doing that kind of nonsense. They had no political like justification or anything. They were like sitting around eating each other's feet, wiping each other's butts with rocks.
Hollywood make it seem like they were some old school battalion and shit.
I didn't, I never realized Hollywood. That's a perfect depiction of Hollywood. That story there. I was like, oh, okay. When it comes to race relations, and that's like, this is how they wanted to be, huh?
Dude's hat was raw though, man. The Persian dude's hat was raw. I would have worn that.
And my name is Jarrett, aka DJartt, with 2 T's for a double dose of that tink tink. The D is silent, so it's just Jartt. Here's my soundbite.
Oh wow. Woke up this morning, internet gone mad again. Sheesh. But just want to drop a few rules and regs for the white boy summer. Okay, rule number 1: no plaid shirts. Okay, can't be looking like a picnic table out here, boys. Rule number 2: no Sperry topsiders. That's not the kind of white boys we're talking about, dog. Okay, and there'll be more rules coming. Oh yeah. No calling girls smoke shows. Okay, okay. That term is it's played out, dude. And you can't just see a hot chick and be like, dude, you see that fucking smoke show, dude. Fucking smoke, dude. Okay, that's over with. Oh yeah, and anything salmon colored, burn it. Burn that shit. Don't ever wear that again. Bottom line here, gentlemen, is it's time for us to evolve. Okay, period. It's time for us to, grow from a Pikachu to a Raichu. You dig. You know what I mean? Church.
I was wondering why he had that church above his head and the emoji. Church right there. My boy Chet Hanx is doing more for race relations, Jared, than I think you've done in the last 5 years, man, in one Instagram feed.
He would have been helpful in that Sparta scene.
In news this week, scientists, some U.S. scientists and Chinese scientists, have created early embryos that are part human and part monkey. They say that it's for hopefully to create more organs for organ transplants for the thousands of people who die every year in the United States waiting for organ transplants. But many scientists are coming out and saying that it is ethically problematic. What do you guys think about that?
Hey, if they can make me a pancreas out of one, hey, I'm all for it.
They gonna make you a pancreas, but make sure it got diabetes in it.
They gonna get the one diabetic monkey.
that one monkey that ain't got the muscle on him or nothing.
They like, we got one diabetic monkey in this embryo, and we're gonna give it to another diabetic monkey.
Hey, look, his diabetes, his sugar level lower than yours, so go ahead and take it. I'll give it to you for the low.
Are you guys interested in human organ transplants being cultivated from these part monkey, part human embryos?
This is probably not a good idea, but what do I know? Probably. I mean, it's like what Pedro was saying. It's like, obviously you can do good, but is that the intention?
Yeah, well, Kirsten Matthews.
The intention is to make profits and to control populations. It seems like that's always the first intention, because it's like you Trojan horse those things, right? I mean, but then again,
it's wild. Kirsten Matthews, who is I believe a scientist, said her first question is why? What's the reason we're doing this? And then another thing she said is we're kind of pushing forward with science without having proper conversation about what we should be doing or should not do with it. I think that's like, these frontiers is like the human condition is exploring these new frontiers of things and basically testing things out as we experience them, as we learn about them, as we come upon them. Is our moral compass actually been resolute? Has it been resolute in the past and in our historical sense, or do we typically kind of just go where the power and the money can get us? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a valid question to ask.
If it's for healing some diseases, I'm all for looking in every avenue that we can. Of course, we all had somebody, we lost loved ones that had problems with maybe kidneys, heart, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. Studies and, science, whatever. We do need to keep studying, but it gets a little tricky when you start swapping organs from different animals. I can't imagine it. I guess if the science can go that far, it gets sticky to how do you prove it? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Aaron, go ahead and get one of those. Go ahead and give some of the monkey toes and see if they work out for you.
Monkey toes. I think it's problematic, mostly because it's not just gonna be like organs like a heart or like a lung. You're gonna find like some celebrity that's gonna want some monkey ass, like the Kardashians. They'll be like
gorilla booty.
She want that gorilla booty.
Hey, these bitches gonna start asking for the gorilla hips, cause you know they got them big bulky hips. They be walking like they just like, man, I'm trying to get them Kim K hips. So hey, give me some of that gorilla.
Kincaid, come on.
I mean, they're already injecting themselves with like gorilla, like chick put gorilla glue on her hair. I mean, they're gonna be like, what's the next step from that? Like, let's get some actual, like some gorilla booty and put it on your hips.
You know, it's the frontier in science of how we can. They're growing meat now. You know what I'm saying? Edible meat. That's something that they're doing because the demands and the strain on our resources by, you know, always having cattle has been an issue. So now they're like, we can grow meat and we don't have to worry about using as many resources like grazing cattle and this, that, and the other, and all these other resources that go into like creating the meat. But then this, it's like, yeah, like what's the need that we're looking at? And the need is people who need transplants. And are we playing God? Because I know that, you know, there's a lot of people who are against like stem cell research, or it was, you know, 15, 20 years ago. That was one of the big things, like no stem cell research. It's illegal, you know, or it should be illegal. It's playing God. But we've evolved past that now to the point where now we're trying to, you know, use other animals that, you know, have similar DNA to us to be able to grow organs for people who might need it. Now, are we playing God and trying to keep people alive whose organs are failing for whatever reason? Or do we say, hey, let's with any means that we have, try and save these people? And I guess that's a question that I have for y'all. Like, you know, if you do have, or if you need an organ transplant, are you somebody who thinks that we should be harvesting it out of other animals, hybrid animals? Or do you think that, you know, we should have a kind of a limit on that and being like, hey, you know, we should just keep this, you know, from people who are willing to donate organs? Or should we even just, are you somebody who's like, you shouldn't get an organ donation anyways, and it should just, your life is your life, you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's better than using dead fetuses, Jarrett. That's what Marjorie Green told me. It's better than using dead fetuses and killing all fetuses.
But so a baby fetus, this right to life is more important than say a monkey's right to life, or a pig's right to life, or a sheep's right to life.
Don't they already use like pig organs because it's closer to humans?
They have used it in the past for certain things, I believe. Yeah, there's an ethical conversation that needs to be had, and there's a moral conversation that we should also be having, because at a certain point, do we want to become basically cyborgs of cyber? I guess bioborgs. You know, we become like cyborg. We're like, we just got so many different things that are piecing us together. We're not fully ourselves anymore. Is that going to be like the new norm? Like in 20 years, 100 years, 1,000 years from now, if we're still on this planet, are we just gonna be people who are just like, you know what I'm saying, piecing together? Like, we got fish collagen in our lips now, we got monkey ass in our hips, and you know what I'm saying, we got pig lungs in our body. You know what I'm saying? Are we just gonna be pieced together by random different things? Are we gonna turn into what the Egyptians was presented on their walls?
Good thing is I'll be no longer walking this earth by the time that happens.
I'm trying to see if I can get some draft legs so I can be a basketball player.
That's what I was thinking about when Kiegan said monkey. I was thinking, how many people gonna go out and get their package bigger? Hey man, give me one of them. You guys got elephant dogs back there?
Man, I'll be like, hey man, can you put that horse dong on me?
Can you splice that into the genetics so I can keep growing?
Hey, that remind me of that one episode of South Park when the one, I think it was like a rat or a mice, had like somebody's penis like that was grafted onto it. Mm-hmm. That's what we're gonna start having, like monkeys with like extra penises.
Well, they had the mouse that had a human ear growing on it. Yeah, that was one.
The ear on the back. Oh, that's kind of fun.
And then you know they had the guy who had his dick transplanted or had a dick growing on his arm. And
at least, but that was his own arm. It made sense.
Yeah, he was getting it to be, you know, put back on his own.
Hey, how much money would you take if someone needed to graft a dick and have it grown on your arm for someone else?
Ooh, for how long would I have to have the dick on my arm?
I don't know. As long as it took to grow. How long he had it for?
Pretty long.
Well, he had it like over a year and a half.
All right, let's say a year. Let's say a year and a half. How much would you?
No, this is like a
how much per month would you need for that?
How much
rent the space out on your arm?
What color is his penis?
I would need enough money that I would need the money that I make in my month-to-month job because I ain't gonna go to work for every month. So I would need that money.
You need at least that much.
I need at least that much so I could, live without having to like.
And then you're gonna need enough money to pay for AC because you sure as hell ain't wearing no short sleeve shirts for a year and a half.
So if they pay me like $150,000, maybe $150,000. I'm not greedy.
That's it, a month or $150?
No. For only a year,
$150K for a year?
Year and a half. A year and a half. Give me $500K. We good.
So you gonna have somebody else's penis on your arm for only $150?
It's never been on their body, so it's not really their dick until
really
I give
yours.
it to them.
Yeah, really, it's yours. So
it'd be my dick still. It's my dick until I take it off and give it to you.
I mean, you gotta wash it and I'm cool. That's too much.
Some inconveniences of doing things. Like it'll be harder to play Call of Duty.
Yeah, but then I can.
Hey man, get your dick off the controller.
There's a proposed bill in France. It would ban women or girls under 18 from wearing a hijab in public. It has spawned the new hashtag, hands off my hijab. The ban is a more of a far right or centrist French movement that is hoping to curtail radicalism, Islamic radicalism in France. They're calling it, code word, an anti-separatist bill. What do you guys think about that?
Everybody in France, we want you all to look like cigarettes and croissants.
Oh, you're just gonna be as racist as they are with that deal right there.
Oh, you said cigarettes and croissants.
I never left when I was growing up. I never traveled anywhere really, and I moved to this country when I was like 4 years old. But I never really traveled too much when I was a kid. And the first time I actually went somewhere was like 2000. I went to France. It was wild. Eye-opening experience because it's like definitely a viciously racist country. And it's interesting because you don't necessarily see it in Paris per se, but you can tell it's there if you lived out there in Paris. But when you go out to places like Marseille, the port towns, all the port towns that are where a lot of North African, West African, Arab, West African, Senegalese all these people come through. Totally different story. I mean, I'm not even a little bit surprised because this is they've been doing this forever. They've had different, they've been working on a full, they want to fully integrate their former, because this is all about their formerly colonized populations. I mean, this is terrible, man. This is a terrible situation.
I know that I remember learning about France younger, and I learned that it was more of a society that wants you to assimilate to their culture, the French culture, the language, and you can still maintain some of your notes of your original culture, but they really want you to make sure you speak French and that everything is kind of like you are immersing yourself in French culture. It's more so a melting pot than a salad bowl, I guess, is what they're going for. But they said also, while debating the proposed legislation on March 30th, senators approved an amendment to the bill calling for, in quotes, prohibition in public space of any conspicuous religious sign by minors and of any dress or clothing which would signify inferiority of women over men. So they're really coding it to be like, we don't want to have anything where women are less superior to men in any kind of religious or cultural, garb. And so that language right there is really interesting to me personally, because I feel as though it's their way of trying to explain and delegitimize another culture or another religious set of beliefs as being, one way versus another. They're discerning it, and it's very much their lens being placed on it. It's a Western lens being placed on a culture that is not of a foundation of this, French Western colonial ideology, so to speak.
Well, I think this is definitely game with, the European populist movement that's going on. Not just in Europe, but all over the world. Because, I mean, don't France have a complicated history with diversity? Because I know, like, James Baldwin and what was the guy that played Othello back in the day?
Mekhi Phifer.
No, who did you say, RB? Because I'm not going to get Paul Robeson. Thank you. I was going to get a true answer out of Jarrett's ass. Kiegan, thank you for trying to at least give me an answer. Jarrett knew I wasn't talking about Mekhi Phifer.
Beautiful white woman, Julia Stiles, broke his heart.
Paul Robeson, James Baldwin, they all talked about how Paris was like that place of refuge for African Americans escaping oppression and racism of America. But then I do know about the history, like you said, from the people coming from the colonies, where it isn't so open arms, right? When you look at the French soccer team, which was almost basically an African team, but they were second generation, you know, our first generation French born, but they all came from like basically the same different parts of France, right?
A lot of them are Muslim. A lot of them Muslims.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that it's more complication to this Frenchish, you know.
Well, you know, even with the James Baldwin, you know, I think that the thing about Europe as a refuge for Black Americans is that it's complicated because in that time, like the post-war, interwar period, you had a culture of left, white, European, Parisian, Bohemian type folks out there. And that was really what people like Baldwin were falling into. Like they were being, there was a group of people there. And of course, the fact that at the time, because Paris is a very particular, it's different than everything else. You know, if you read someone else, so for example, if you read Frantz Fanon, who was the revolutionary anti-colonial psychiatrist and writer, who was like the most important figure in the history of like anti-colonialism, and he was from Martinique. And you know, I mean, if you read his book, Black Skin, White Mask, so you read Wretched of the Earth, you read those books, and you see what's going on in France is exactly what they're doing in their colonies. But they were able to like submerge that a little bit, you know, because they do have this, they did have a culture, they do have a tradition of left leaning, because they still, I mean, like they have a very powerful national sense of labor organization, you know, and they have like a lot of progressive trends within the country. But Macron is he's a right-wing dude. I mean, yeah, they consider him a moderate because you have to, I mean, like if y'all remember when Trump was elected, it's crazy. When Trump was elected, y'all probably remember this. There was all this drama about the French elections because Macron was up against what's her name? I'm sorry, I can't remember anything right now, y'all. I haven't eaten forever. But the point is that he was up against essentially what amounts to the right-wing populist, fascist, white supremacist party. Okay, and it was the same thing. It was the same idea that this person represents, you know, it's like a Trumpist type of a deal. We are the liberal alternative, and this is what you get. Not to say that the other person would have been better. That's not what I'm saying. But the point is that you Trojan horse the fascism. I mean, we saw what happened in Minnesota. Yeah, so y'all see that? Y'all see what was going on in Minnesota yesterday? Was it the day before? When they were sending in those fatigued out paramilitary troops with the
rifles,
the strap straight up on the, you know, and so it's like, in a way, this is their version, you know. And I remember when I went out there, because you know I grew up in the Bay, but when I went out there, it was the first time I'd experienced. I was like, whoa, like cats targeting me. Like, whoa, this is heavy. Like I never, because growing up out here, you know, like in the community I grew up in, it wasn't really like that. I mean, you know, you hear about cats getting messed with and end up in the pen or something like that. But it wasn't like on the street, an everyday thing in Berkeley and in Oakland, like cats are like coming at you with like, hey, you're, you know. But over there, it's like they're just straight, you know, it's a serious thing. Marie Le Pen. So, you know, it's the thing is like that they do have a Bernie Sanders type candidate, Mélenchon. And, you know, the whole yellow vest thing, you know, they have a strong tradition there of like standing up for labor rights and civil rights, but they have a more powerful tradition of racism. I mean, you have Indochina, Africa, and all those populations now live. I mean, they have massive populations in, you know, I mean, you go to the projects, they call them les banlieues. You go out to the project housing in France, and like, I mean, it's just filled. It's just filled with West Africans and Arabs. But yeah, this is crazy, and I wonder what the response is going to be.
I don't know much about it. I just have a quick question, like, why hijabs?
Well, that's why the language I think that they're trying to use, because, you know, the anti-separatism bill is what they keep saying, and they said that they don't want to have any like religious signs of by minors or any dress of clothing which would signify inferiority of women over men. And so, you know, there's been a lot of, especially with Western, you know, like the whole, you know, U.S. going into Afghanistan and Iraq. So we got to liberate those people. We got to liberate, you know, they treat women so bad over there. We need to liberate those people so that they have more, you know what I'm saying, liberal views and more, allow women to express themselves. And I'm not saying that like some of the things that, you know, different cultures have might to us seem oppressive or seem as a way that is like not treating all their people great. But I'm not going to sit here and take my sensibilities and just like, you know what I'm saying, with 100% conviction, believe that the way I live my life and the way I see the world is the right way. You know what I'm saying? People have grown up in a culture, in a society, a certain way. Whether or not I think that it's the right way is not for me to judge. It's not for me to say that this is the right way. And I think that's what you're getting here. And now it's their country. It's France. What is it? A Christian country more so? And
they were Catholics.
Catholic
they were
Christianity, Catholics, you know, they follow the great Jesus, white Jesus, right? So they follow white Jesus, right? So yeah, like when you have, you know, people who practice Islam, they're gonna like look at it differently. We're used to making people like, you know, assimilate to our society. We're gonna, you know, infringe on their religious freedoms, and I find it fucked up, and I find it to be really interesting that they're saying that, you know what I'm saying, we're going to tell you that this is making women inferior by wearing a hijab, when honestly, you know what I'm saying, like it's one of those things where this one lady brought up like the age of consent in France is 15. The age of consent to have sex is 15 years old, right? But now you're making it to where the age of consent to wear a hijab and practice part of your religious freedoms is 18 now. That's something to consider. That's something that doesn't seem consistent with the values of this country.
No, I mean, look, the thing is, it's not even a question of, it's a question of, they are the French liberals, French conservatives, of course, predominantly white, but in general, believe deeply in having a secular country, or at least a Judeo-Christian country to whatever extent they can, that, or, you know, to whatever extent there's going to be an inflection of any kind of religious history. You might, you know, it's kind of like here, the same thing, you know, like you don't, you know, and, but the Islamophobia there is amplified by the fact that it's smaller, you know, and they're able to more effectively, I mean, if y'all remember, like it was right around the Trump election, before and after, and like in the years leading up to it and after, because I mean, think about it like this. What was it like leading up to Trump's election? ISIS this, ISIS that, terrorist this, terrorist that, right? It was like every day I mean, just Bush years, every single day, bearded men are coming to get you, coming to get your daughters, your mothers. You know, you're gonna wake up. You know, that's what we heard, and suddenly, that fucking faucet just turned off. Isn't that amazing? It just turned off. Suddenly in Trump's administration, sometime like a year, whatever it was, just suddenly all that stuff started going away. ISIS stuff started going away. Terrorism stuff started going away. What happened? What's the deal? What's with that? You know? And it's an interesting thing because I think that like out there, it serves a political purpose, you know, and it helps these cats consolidate their authority. I think in some ways, Macron, because he has a similar issue that the Democrats in this country have, right? Which is Democrats in this country, they want to split the difference. They don't want to embrace socialist policies or progressive policies or policies that are popular because it'll affect certain financial interests that they have in the nerve center of their party. So what they'd rather do is make concessions to what they perceive to be a middle ground, which is essentially conservatives who don't vote for them. Okay, that's what they say. That's what they do. I mean, I'm sure you all know this. And so the deal is with this, it's a similar deal, you know? Macron is a straight up neoliberal, like he is essentially hardcore right-wing, anti-union. I mean, but he presents himself as a liberal, right? And like Obama gave him his stamp because at the time, again, it was like Marie Le Pen was the Trump in France. So they held up Macron as this savior. But in reality, Macron, he's done nothing but make their country, like he is very unpopular. He won that election by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah.
You know, and so the thing is that they know that, and in part, Islamophobia is just political capital. This is all just political theater. But the cost of this political theater is, of course, people's culture and their ability to live their lives in peace, you know?
Yeah. And I find it funny that they're like, we don't want any symbols of women being inferior to men, but we're gonna make a law that tells women what they can and can't do. It's like, wait a minute. It's like, bro, like you're repackaging it in a wordy Western way to make it seem like you're doing something good, but literally you're doing the same thing that you're claiming to be fighting against. By
the French powerful men are picking a fight they think they can win, because they all cowards.
Well, that's the thing. Then, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go out there. I'm gonna teach all the Muslims how to speak German, and then that shit will get off the ballot real quick. Teach every Muslim person just some German phrases. All I need is 17 of them to walk in the Senate, and next thing you know, they'll surrender it to me. Oh shit, it's yours. Install your Vichy government. That's what they'll say.
Yeah, man.
Motherfuckers came in 17 Muslims speaking German. We're really in trouble.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, Eric.
I don't need Muslims. I just need 17 Germans. I need you guys. I need your help with this, man. I need you guys. No speaking English on this one. We just going in speaking German. We taking guns? Nope. What weapons we gonna have? Well, I'm gonna have a broomstick. That's it. That's all we need. They're like, you gonna swing the broomstick? No, I'm actually gonna sweep some shit up with it. But that's all we need.
You bring some margarine too. That'll really fuck them up too.
Yeah.
Margarine? What the fuck is this?
Damn, Jim.
Hey, you just walk in there speaking German, screaming this.
It's your boy Chet.
They wouldn't know how to react. I think I can take over that in Nova Scotia.
You set him in there with Chet Hanx as their leader, speaking Jamaican.
Jamaican.
Man, Chet Hanx might be. He's like, what's it called? The Dark Knight. He's like the hero we need but don't deserve.
Yeah.
Jimmy Flick, a UFC fighter or former UFC fighter, who appeared on the Contender Series and was scheduled to fight Francisco Figueiredo, the younger brother of the flyweight champion Davison Figueiredo, at UFC Vegas 26 on May 8th, has abruptly retired. He decided to retire because he said, "There's no benefits of beating up my body no more being in the UFC. We have no 401k. We have no benefits. We have no fallback. Fighters are too stupid to unionize, and it'll never happen because there's other fighters that will fight for that money. I love the money I got, but this is just to go show everybody that money doesn't buy happiness." So a UFC fighter, not a super big name one, has decided to retire from the fight sports game because of the lack of compensation and protections of fighters in the UFC. What do you guys think about that?
It's hilarious, man. Like, you watch this John Jones fiasco and how this dude is just such a Dumbo, man. Just a dumb ass cat. I mean, I feel it's like you feel for him almost, because like he's sitting here like he's like, it's like you see this cat connecting all the dots. Like he's like almost gonna connect all the dots. You know, he's like, all right, I'm about to get like he could. I just don't understand. The dude's brothers are in the NFL, and he doesn't understand the concept of collective bargaining.
Oh, John Jones. You're talking about John Jones. Yeah. John Jones.
No, I'm just speaking to this dude's point.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, you were complaining about you are obviously, you know, I think John Jones, I would give him a pass on the CTE tip, but it trips me out because, like, both of his brothers are in the NFL, both of them. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine when he's chopping it up with them and their agents, and they have an understanding of how NFL players have these kinds of protections, but he doesn't put it together. He does not put two, like, how do you not put it together? This is what I don't understand from that perspective. If you're a star, this dude's obviously not a star, but if you're a star, like Jones is, like, okay, I'm gonna get $8 million. Like, you're offering me $8 million for this fight, but I want $15 million or whatever it is he wants, right? What I don't get about that is, if you don't collectively organize, you might as well just take the $8 million. Why do you need $5 more million? What's the point of the extra money? Because that, if you do this time, you're gonna have to do it again next time. So every time you fight, you're going to have to get lowballed because he's on a big pay-per-view draw, Jones, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't really understand. You know, it's an interesting thing. I mean, obviously, fight sports have traditionally just been you can't. It's an individualistic thing. It's like tennis, right? I mean, you know how to get tennis players to unionize. It's hard to do, right? It's a hard thing to do. But
yeah. But people who play tennis typically have already got so much money or backing behind them to get to where they get to that, they probably doing all right regardless.
I wonder. I mean, I don't know obviously it's top 20, right? But
yeah,
I wonder
but there's been a lot of complaints for the lower people at tennis, because don't forget those tournaments, those major tournaments, they have usually it's like how many people in them? They're huge. This isn't like the bracket of 64 for college basketball. And so they've been complaining a lot about their treatment recently. Tennis and having to find their own housing, things like that. They're like, look, we don't have a lot of money, right? Like we pay to get to these tournaments. We have to find housing. So I think it's almost like the same, like you said, it's the low end.
Yeah, I just see tennis as such a prohibitive sport as it is, with the amount of money to be able to train, get a coach, country club style shit, kind of like golf. Like people who are playing tennis and decide to make tennis their go-to thing. That's why the Williams sisters are such a revelation. And some of these others, there are some athletes that don't come from great affluence that end up but to get the funding or people to give you seed money to train because they see your talent. Typically I feel like a lot of them are already more well off in better places than a lot of these fighters or other athletes that are coming from even more desperate situations or low income situations originally. But other news in going on in the UFC, and this is something that I wanted to talk about a little bit, is John Jones and Francis Ngannou, a super fight. John Jones is moving up he relinquished his light heavyweight title to move up to heavyweight and to challenge for the heavyweight title. Francis Ngannou, a couple weeks ago, defeated Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight championship. This is a fight that could, be the fight of the decade potentially in the fight sports world, which you have John Jones, the best pound for pound fighter in the last, decade, who has cleared out his entire division, been a champion for almost a decade straight now, going up against the new iteration and the new breed of, potential fighter, somebody who's just massive, powerful, and also relatively very nimble and quick in Francis Ngannou, but has just devastating power. Ngannou came in and was a ascending star before he lost his first fight to Miocic. He took a couple years to retrain his body, learn some new things, and then came back and beat Miocic very, very decisively. To fight John Jones, who's been the standard bearer of the UFC for the last 10 years, other than maybe one or two other fighters, would be an epic fight to see, and would draw a lot of people. Whether or not John Jones is a big draw, Ngannou's a big draw. John Jones and his legacy is a big draw. Add those two things together, you could have a super big card. And the UFC is unwilling to, apparently pay more than $8 million to Jones for the fight. And so this gets down to the unionization component of things. So do we have fighters, fighters, do they need a union? I guess that's the one question. Should fighters unionize? But realistically, what would it take, or do you even think it's going to happen? But what do you think it would take to actually get fighters to unionize? Because this is one of those things where this guy is leaving because I feel like if he had more protections and he had more of a safety net for when his fighting career is over, he might still be fighting. And I think a lot of these fighters are at a point in the evolution of fight sports, especially in mixed martial arts, that they're not understanding the down the road. They're not willing to sacrifice their opportunity for their own glory or their own gains right now to help grow the sport and evolve it and develop it so that you can get the best fighters coming into the sport in future years or future decades for the sport to really become a legitimate way of, getting, the best fighters against the best fighters and the best talent against the best talent. So yeah, do you guys think it's going to happen? And what would it take, do you think, for it to happen if you see it happening? I'll give it to Kiegan. You got anything?
Happen. I don't think the union is going to be the best part, only because NFL got a union and they're still shitty. They're just doing an extra game. I think they're 17 weeks now. But just like the NFL, UFC is not run, but a lot of the top people get the most of the money, and those lower cards, they don't get as much money as the top ones. So like Russell Wilson bringing in, $140 million, but the third string safety, they're probably bringing in like $500,000, which is nothing when nothing is compared.
Mm-hmm. However, I would say that $500,000 is like several tens of times more than the lower rung UFC fighters who are making 12.5K per fight.
And that's my point exactly. Like, he's getting $8 million, he wants more. I think he should get more. But I also think that those lower cards should get more as well.
Yeah.
Definitely should get more. I don't think a union's going to help with that because those lower people are going to be like, all right, we're only getting, like you said, 20, let's say like $20,000 to fight on this lower card. Like, hey, we need more money. You give us 10% more. Yeah, we're going to take it. And then their CBA might expire like in the next 5 years. So that means they're only getting 10% for like the next 5 years. Like, what's going to happen to the next 5 years after that? They're going to get like another extra 10%.
Keep bargaining. You keep bargaining.
It's the process, but you got to get the bargaining going, right?
Yeah, it's part of collective bargaining. Like the NFL, yes, there's an inequality of pay. I think you keep collective bargaining. You know, the NFL, they got that 17th game, but you know what the players got out of getting that 17th game? They get to their health benefits faster after retirement, and they also got the ability to smoke weed again, right? Which a lot of players wanted.
They were smoking weed before, but all right.
They were, but not at this point where now they don't have to worry about being suspended. Like Ricky Williams talked about when he got suspended for smoking weed, he said because he was with New Orleans and he only got tested on a certain time during the season. So he knew he could smoke a little bit and then test during the season. Like he could smoke on Sunday night and be fine. But then he went to Miami, he got suspended because he said, I get there and they're like, hey, you got to test right now. He didn't know their testing date was at a certain time. Now they don't have to worry about that. Now they can smoke weed now. So that way they don't have to be hooked on all the opioids that the doctors prescribe to them there. I mean, that's part of collective bargaining. And I think it would work well for the UFC because NFL, yeah, they got screwed. They had to play another extra game, destroy their own bodies, but they collective bargained for that. They wanted other things. So they got this.
And then the other part is like, how long did it take them for them to say weed is allowed in the NFL?
Well, it took the changing of like even our country, right?
Yeah, but I also think that in the UFC, since NFL has already done it, the UFC has a blueprint. So now it won't take as long for them to collective bargain than it did in the NFL.
No.
So it could be, it's a double-edged sword. It could be good and it could be bad at the same time.
It's always because you got unions that represent a lot of people, and not everyone like we learned with the NBA with the player union, like not everyone even voted for their things, right? But the collective bargaining just gives you a right that you can bargain for more things.
For UFC, it's going to take somebody like a John Jones or one of these bigger fighters, and these guys that are already getting paid pretty handsomely for their work, but it's going to take some of them to really make the movement, or it's going to take a lot of the small, lower end fighters to make the movement. But John Jones does not. He was lamenting on Twitter a couple weeks ago about this, and it was just like, hey, bro, like you're shout out to the Co-Main Event podcast. They were also mentioning it's like he's saying everything other than just being like, and the next step is a union, like or some kind of collective bargaining by the fighters. And I know some people were like, oh, it's gonna be too hard because you got fighters at different promotions, but you can create an independent fighters union. You have to register as like a professional fighter. Once you want to become a professional fighter, you still have to like be registered as a professional fighter to enter and sign these contracts. Kind of like, Screen Actors Guild or something like that. Like you join this and then you can sign contracts with these different promotions, and we will collectively bargain protections and, relative pay that will fall under these different promotions. And maybe some promotions don't bring in as much revenue, so their pay rate is going to be a little bit lower, but there's a standard minimum that they have to be able to pay you for us to have this contract with this fight organization. If you want to fight the independent circuits, yada yada, that's fine, you can do that. But like at least for these big ones that are bringing in that are worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, like the UFC is, like you will get compensated and protected in a relative way, and they can't just cut you from your contract if you sign a 5-fight deal with them or an 8-fight deal with them. They can't just cut that deal from you, which they can do. Some fighters on a losing streak, they'll terminate their contract early, and that fighter is now a free agent. There's things that could be done to just build out some of these protections for these fighters that are not even being considered right now. And I think I saw a statistic, I don't know from where, but they were mentioning that like Armin, you might know more about this. The UFC keeps like 80% of the profits.
That's crazy.
So the company literally like keeps like 80% of revenue. The fighters and all the fighters they have from the upper ranks to lower ranks, they split 20% of the revenue. Mm-hmm. Now, NBA, what's their ownership and players?
They have the highest, and it's probably like around 56 or 55. Yeah, 56.
Yeah, it's around 50%, somewhere in the 50% range, right? Mm-hmm. NFL first, the owners.
NFL's even 50. NFL's even over 50 now.
Yeah,
it's
so
over
you have.
50 now.
It's like man, like even if they gave them 10% more, Think about how much more fighters could make. Instead of making 12.5 thousand a fight, those fighters could make 20,000 as the base minimum for their fight. So that if they fight 2 or 3 times, you know what I'm saying, they make 40 to 60K a year, right? With a fight bonus, they can make upwards of 100 mil, right? 100,000, sorry, 100,000 a year. And as a fighter, then like that seems like more reputable, especially for such a big promotion that's owned by this big, you know, media conglomerate that's worth billions of dollars, and that has a contract with ESPN and Disney, which is worth billions upon billions of dollars. So the money is there. It's whether or not, these things get, taken seriously by the people who are invested in it, the fighters. And there is a antitrust lawsuit that is, making its way through the courts. I know Dana White was buddies with Trump, so I think that shit got kind of filibustered and held up in the courts. But there is an antitrust lawsuit that's going to eventually make it up there in the courts about, the way that the UFC is paying their fighters and the monopoly that's being created amongst, independent contractors. But Prop 22 didn't help that shit either, so we'll see. What do y'all think? Pedro, you got anything on this?
I think Pedro's at a truck stop.
Oh, I got him muted. Pedro, I got you muted because it was clicking too loud. But all right, Armin, anything? What's your take on it?
No, man, it's. I mean, I think at the end of the day, man, like, it's hilarious to me how all these so-called tough guys that are so super individualistic sit around getting hustled by Dana White and the UFC and have no sense of self-preservation beyond just like, I'll make the next like handful of bucks for the next fight. I don't think that fight sports in general are conducive to anything like that whatsoever. I feel like the only way that's going to happen is some random event, like some random thing where like you get a cat like just some superstar who just randomly is like down to do that for whatever reason. Like a McGregor is like, you know what, I'm gonna go and throw down for a union, or for like collective bargaining. Other than that, the only way it's gonna happen is externally, because unions, you have to be organized. Someone's gonna organize you, and it's either gonna be the person who's in the sport itself, or it's gonna be an external force who comes in and does it. And there's already been several attempts, man, at the UFC at getting some sort of collective organizing from outside like bigwigs. You remember it wasn't that long ago. There was a dude that was like a pretty serious labor organizer, had worked with the Teamsters and this and that. He tried, got knocked back immediately. So you need to have like, you can't even get half the fighters, man. You can't even get a quarter of the fighters to agree to do that. So I don't see how that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
Which, you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, let the sport burn. Who cares? In my view, because it's like, I mean, if you're not going to look out for yourself and your community, I mean, you can't really complain too much about that.
It's hard to unionize when you're out there trying to train dogs how to run with you while I'm shooting a gun.
Yeah, that's right. You have your financial priorities are definitely not in the right place.
I'm pretty sure that Herschel Walker had a good take on why there's no union in the UFC. Hold on, Herschel, why is there no union in the UFC?
And to a slave trader who eventually sold the African-American ancestors to slave owners. The slave owners who had no success and no luck trying to make a Native American whose land they took become their slave. Because the Native American ran away. Well, they thought it was fine then to use African-American who didn't know the country, didn't know the language, didn't know the religion, and they didn't run away. So I asked.
What did you say, Jared? So he's reading from the memo and the check that they gave him?
Yeah.
They wrote all that in the memo section?
Cutty Corner Shoutouts. Cutty Corner Shoutouts. Cutty Corner Shoutouts is the segment we end the show on. Everyone gets the floor to rant, complain, and talk shit about something that's been pissing them off. Or you can talk about something positive and give a spotlight to something positive. Cutty Corner Shoutouts. Cutty Corner Shoutouts.
It's time.
We're burning now. God, if you let it hell, so cold and bleeding now. I'm in for it, man. Gonna let you down. He had sex with my mama. We're broken people now. I just said I need a back
Cutty Corner shout-outs. Cutty Corner shout-outs. Aaron, do you have a Cutty Corner shout-out?
I do. My Cutty Corner shout-out goes out to Demi Lovato. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons we could point out to Demi Lovato. The fact she had a drug party where she had Norcaine on hand in case anybody OD'd, which she did. The fact that she's just, she's Demi Lovato. She's a Disney child actress, which I know has to be hard. I have nothing against Demi Lovato. I can honestly say I've never listened to her music. I was too old when Disney Channel came out, so I don't know what she starred in or what. This is for her calling out a frozen yogurt joint called The Big Chill. And she called them out and went on Instagram, put their name out there and put them on blast talking about because she said, shame on them for having diet options, saying that she's getting shamed, right? By having them in the front of the store and having them where they are at. Look, the only person that should be ashamed of themselves is whoever go into a frozen yogurt joint thinking that these are real diet options, right? It's like those people who, hey man, I might drink 3 sodas a day, but they all diet. Come on, man. Come on, Demi Lovato. Just go there, get your yogurt, get the fuck out. Who the fuck is shaming you? Who's sitting there saying there's not a bunch of high school girls chilling in a frozen yogurt spot that's sitting there like, oh, she got her nerves. Look at her getting the diet options, getting the diet gummy bears, putting that diet, those cheap ass, fake ass Oreo that came from Trader Joe's that's crumbled up on her frozen yogurt. They ain't not a group of high school girls there to shame you. Just get your yogurt and keep stepping, dude. Who the fuck cares what you get? Look, I know my boy Nick Money used to go. Remember back in the day when he was in high school, Jared, and I had to pay him in YOLO Berry coupons for free yogurt? This motherfucker would go in there every day over summer and get his free yogurt and pack it up to here. You think he was shamed? No. You're getting frozen yogurt. Nobody's shaming anybody in frozen yogurt. Trust me, my overweight husky ass was in there too getting frozen yogurt. I might even go in there and get about 10 free samples before I turn around and fuck around and get my yogurt. And she over there, we're talking about people shaming her. You know what? That sounds like a you problem, Demi. There's a lot of people that take you problems and try to make it everybody problems. Like, no, man, if you uncomfortable, then just stay out the yogurt shop. Go, you know what? Go get some Chobani from the grocery store and put it in your freezer.
Aaron show up to the yogurt shop. Well, they got diet options. Don't give a fuck. He talk about like
nigga here now.
Exactly. That's how I step into the. Yeah, I'm here now. So best believe.
Pietro, do you have a Cutty Corner shout out?
So my Cutty Corner shout out goes out to addiction. As we're talking about DMX, as we're talking about people losing their life to or doing drugs or doing too many drugs. It's an addiction when it's hurting everybody else. And what we don't do is seek therapy when we're addicted to something, whether it be sugar, food, marijuana, extra marijuana, edibles, cocaine, PCP, gambling. And part of my addiction shout out goes to gambling. And I know what y'all gonna say, oh, he over here talking about his old lady. No, the addiction of trying to bet the spread. Everybody's trying to figure out who's playing tonight. Everybody's trying to figure out, oh, damn, he ain't batting today. Oh shit, I think I lost like $600. And I'm like, man, everything is turned to capitalism. In gambling, in playing with money, in Bitcoin. This addiction of loving the game of chance has gotten to a point where it's kind of making me not like, it's hard to find something to listen to. I can't listen to sports because I feel like it's tainted all the time. And you know, Sports Center, you know what they led with? Instead of being a rivalry, they were talking about the chances and spreads on a fucking baseball game. And I'm like, dude, in baseball, I've seen Sauce pitchers go out and have a no-hitter. So you never know what's going to happen in the baseball game. And the thing they led with was, oh, what a great rivalry. You got all the San Diego's like little brother and this and that. And the spread was, and somebody said the spread in the middle of the beginning of the, I guess, the highlight. And I almost threw my shoe at my TV. Especially coming off a week when my old lady decides she want to come in gambling 6 a.m. So I'm already on I'm about to beat my wife mode. and it upsets me. Like, I mean, the addiction is getting nuts. Y'all don't have pure love for nothing. This is why I'm an advocate for regular sex.
I do want people
because
to know,
there's nothing natural about watching sports anymore. Nothing.
I do want people to know Pedro wouldn't really beat his wife because he did get upset one time when she did gamble a lot of money away. And he didn't hit her dead. And he would never hit her.
Thank you, Aaron. You don't have to explain. If they want to cancel me, cancel me.
Hey,
I'm not afraid.
Pedro don't get mad and beat his wife. He show up and say this.
So somebody's gonna have to give us some booty.
Nah, he was mad.
That sound like rape, Jarrett.
This is that. Hey, Pedro, can I say the quote that you told me when you found that out? Can I say the quote you?
Yeah.
The quote Pedro, he said, "I'd rather you cheat on me than to gamble away my money."
Yeah, don't do both.
Don't.
Higaloso.
I'm glad you asked. It goes out to the four Republican senators that are in Tennessee. Way back in March 15th, they voted against a bill that will take slavery out of their constitution. Members Joey Hensley, Janice Bowlings, Brian Kesley, and Frank Nicely. Nothing nice about slavery. It's not even on some like racist stuff, but just like general human being, like being a good human being. Like, hey, slavery's there. Let's go ahead and take it out of the Constitution. Tennessee, I don't know your rules. I don't know your laws. I will probably not go there anytime soon within the next 5 years. Because if I run a red light, that's slavery. If I make an illegal U-turn, that's slavery. If I jaywalk, I love to jaywalk. Slavery. Like, what do you have to process through your head that slavery is still a good thing? And it's not even just like slavery. They made it sound like it was like indentured servitude. Like, hey, you're only a slave for this amount of time, so it makes it good. Like, hey, slave for any amount of time is bad.
My Cutty Corner shout out goes out to the Oakland A's. I shouted them out last week for being mediocre and terrible and having players that I don't care to see or players that have ceilings that are too mediocre. But my Cutty Corner shout out this week goes out to them for trying to make me look bad by winning 9 of their last 10 games. Fuck y'all. Y'all better keep playing the way I know y'all to play. Mediocre. Otherwise, y'all gonna do this again. You can get me built up, get everyone all hyped up, be like, see, Jared, you see, you just hating on them for no reason. See, they actually got some skill. Watch this. They're gonna make the playoffs and they're gonna lose. My second Cutty Corner shout out goes out to Ben Askren. Ben Askren last night fought Jake Paul, the YouTube sensation, in a boxing match. Do you guys want to see the fight?
Yeah.
Sure. Let's go ahead and watch the fight. Here it
It's a
is.
short fight.
Here it go.
Snoop Dogg, Mario Lopez, Al Bernstein, Pete Davidson.
Why does that ring look so much smaller?
Gentlemen,
How many commentators they had? He named about 5 people.
It's about to go down. Waste no time and get to it and do it. Here we go.
It's 5 people commentating this fight.
You ain't filling out no applications. Ain't nobody hired, so we ain't filling out no applications today. This is not a fill out.
Ben got that Vince Vaughn body.
Exactly. Vince Vaughn body.
Nice overhead right.
Ben Askren's built like a bag of milk, but he's got that country strength.
Well, Freddie
He
Rose
ain't got
did
no
say
country
that Ben
strength.
Askren does have deceptive power.
Jake Paul being a lot more disciplined than I thought.
Yeah, that's the style that fighters used to use in the 1930s. He's about to change that shit up.
Oh, there's a left hook on the top of the head by Paul.
Hey,
shit,
shot to the
body
body.
shot to them ribs. Bang, right to the motherfucking
Dude,
head.
he's a fucking bad boy, dude.
He is. Jake, get out. I try to
Jake's
tell
a
you.
bad
You
boy.
think I'm going to put $2 million on a motherfucking goofball? What the fuck?
Oh, Jake Paul sparred with former world champion Jean Pascal and
Get my
also
money,
cruiserweight
Jake. Get my
contender.
motherfucking money, Jake. Get my motherfucking money, Jake. Get my motherfucking money, Jake. Get my motherfucking money, Jake. Get me my motherfucking money, Jake. Finish him. Finish him. Finish him. Finish him. $2 million motherfucking dollars, nigga.
Did Snoop Dogg have to bet $20 million to get $2 million? I mean, what's the odds of that one? Ask Minty Betts.
I think he bet Dana White $2 million. He's like, Dana White came out and said, "I'll put $1 million that he doesn't win this fight." And then Snoop Dogg came out and said, "I'll put $2 million on it. And you got a deal." So he put $2 million on him. But I got a couple Cutty Corner shout outs from this fight. Number one, Jake Paul. You celebrated like you won the world title, and then you fell to the ground and started fake crying like you done something, like you accomplished something that was so difficult. Now, Jake Paul, I'm gonna give you credit. You look like you got better hands than this guy who was a wrestler that wrestled in MMA. He was an MMA fighter that wrestled his whole time. That whole time he fought, he just wrestled. Dana White would not sign him for years because all he would do is grab you and then take you to the ground and not let you up. So you beat up a wrestler who can't throw hands. Good job. I give you credit, but don't fake cry like you accomplished something. Secondarily, Pete Davidson, I don't need to hear about you screaming, "I feel like I'm going to come," right as the fight's starting. You are creepy, weird, and stupid sometimes. I really don't get it. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, Pete Davidson, bro, you do too much. And this is one of those things where like people are like, he's really awkward looking and he's kind of cute, but he's kind of funny because he's just like unabashedly himself. No, he's a creepy, dumb motherfucker. Stop giving him all the good pussy he be getting because he's famous and he writes for SNL. He writes some weird, stupid shit half the time. And the other half the time, it's kind of funny. Only time when it is funny is when Dave Chappelle says he got nigga lips or he talking shit about himself. That's when it's funny. Otherwise, I don't need to hear you commentating a boxing match. Lastly, my Cutty Corner shout out goes out to Ben Askren, who weighed 40 pounds more than his last fight in the UFC. That motherfucker was fat and out of shape. He was at his natural weight, just walking around as though he had done no training. And then literally showed that he had no training on how to box or throw hands at all after fighting in MMA for over 10 years. This motherfucker has no ability to deal with somebody throwing hands at you. So, Ben Askren, you ain't shit. You got knocked out. But at the same time, I get you, man. You made your money. You made more money in this fight than you'll make in most fights in the UFC. So I get it. You made your money, but you still ain't shit for getting knocked out. You ruined part of the MMA culture. You hurt the culture, but I kind of like it because you know what? Now we might get another MMA fighter who might be a little bit better with the hands to step up and fight this motherfucker, and we can see a real fight between somebody who could throw hands and Jake Paul. And then maybe we'll see Jake Paul get knocked out. That's what I'm trying to get to that. He keep fighting garbage cans. He over here training with the Houston Astros. I don't need to see him training with the Houston Astros circa 2018. I need to see him fighting some real motherfuckers and some real killers. And then I see what happens. I'll watch that. I would love to see him fight, you know what I'm saying, Cody Garbrandt, who's probably 30 or 40 pounds lighter than him, but could throw hands a little bit. I'd love to see him fight Mystic Mac. You know what I'm saying? That would be fun to watch. We regardless of what, it's all terrible. But at the same time, seeing one of these motherfuckers get knocked out would make me feel very, very happy. So, Cutty Corner shout out goes out to the whole Triller thing. Shout out to Triller sponsorship, but goes out to the whole Triller thing. This shit is whack, but it's also kind of amazing. Let's get a real UFC fighter in this bitch, and let's get a real fight. I'm down for that shit. I will not pay for it. I will bootleg it, but I will watch it again. That is our show, my friends. That is our show. Any final words you guys like to say to our fans before we sign off?
Shout out to Mickey Guyton, first black woman to host the Country Music Awards tonight.
Kiegan, any final words?
Shout out to Brunch. I will always forever love you.
Yes. Will do. Jared be missing out, dude. He don't wake up.
Yeah. Jared, you want to come to brunch with us one time? Me and you, we could go to brunch.
You ain't gonna make it.
I'll bring brunch to your house.
And where's the immortal Magic Johnson?
I'm not gonna be here.
I thought you were gonna say in the words of the immortal Trick Daddy, you don't know man.
Oh shit. Pietro, any final words?
Yeah, everybody, I don't beat my wife. That was a joke for the show. I just look at her real stern.
As she yelling at him.
As she's yelling at him. Right here and see.
Pedro's wife turned to him when he started yelling at him, and she was like,
"Nobody punking, nobody here."
Exactly what she said.
Anyways, all right. Well, thank you for listening to our show. Stay healthy, stay blessed. Shout out to Ireland, our listeners out there, Portland, Maryland. I think we got somebody in Pennsylvania now, Florida, New Orleans. Shout out to our Jungle Ball representatives out there. Keep balling out there. Our baseball league out there. We're gonna check in with them next week. and Texas, Arizona. That's probably Pedro mainly. But and everyone else tapping in with us. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/highscore510 and listen to our game of Crackhead, Coon, or Colonizer with OG Pen from last week. It's a doozy, and find out who won that game. Aside from that, we will leave you with this.
If a black player would have been given and then another player, it would have created problems within the team, separation and division. Ezekiel 18:20, the righteousness of the right shall be upon him. The son shall not suffer for the crime of the father, nor the father suffer the crime of the son, unless either the father or son knows beforehand the father or son was a criminal. To help any race, provide them with a good quality education and help incentivize through opportunities with responsibilities, which helps generations in the future. If reparation is a fee, or correction for a terrible sin of slave owners, government, and others, but we punish the non-guilty party, is it not creating division or separation with different races? I feel it continues to let us know we're still African American rather than just American.
I'm getting to the point, Jared, when I'm gonna be okay with segregation.
Come on. But you gonna try to segregate yourself.
Exactly. Hey, this will. You know, somebody wrote that for him. I'm telling you, Stephen Miller probably wrote that for him. He's over there. You might as well have had Tyrese reading it for him.
It says, "Hakslag, slagdag, smok, veelzag, megag."
That was perfect.
This nigga kept saying black. Hey man, I can have
grenades.
I can have a threesome and I can satisfy both women at the same time.
Come on, man.
Nah.
Come on.
That means when you get aroused and penis get aroused.
Yeah. What you want it to be? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know if my heart can sustain the blood flow for both those organs.
Well, depends. If it's like Lexington steel grafted on your arm, yeah, you might be in trouble.
So if the penis get hard on your arm, does your hand go limp instead? So
I don't know. He in the middle of playing Call of Duty, all of a sudden he can't move his play.
Shit, man. I wonder how. Yeah, because you know they say your mind don't work when your dick is running. It's like if you got two dicks running, how like do you go into a vegetative state? Do you turn into like a drone and just be like, you only mumble, you know? Armin, you have a limp wrist syndrome. What about you? What do you think?
He might have stepped away from his mic, which could be a good thing on this conversation.
So Armin, we're hitting you with the hard-hitting question. How much would it take for somebody to grow an extra organ on your arm? If you were growing an organ for somebody else on your body for somebody else
for 1 year, how much?
How much would you?
No amount of money. No.
That's what I'm saying. Armin wouldn't sell himself out. You wouldn't believe how low Jarrett's price was, Armin.
What, $10?
No, his price was $150,000. But here's the crazy thing, Armin. It was a dick. So like I was like, I'm like, man, that price is gonna be absorbent where it basically not gonna happen. You'll have a better job growing.
You know how many bitches on the IG and in the Meet Me app will want to come actually meet me because I got a dick. I can get on TikTok, become TikTok famous. I monetize myself.
Yeah, like you probably on like OnlyFans or something.
Yeah, I get on OnlyFans. I can just sit there and just jack off my forearm and make money.
Oh God, Jared.
I thought you were gonna ask me how much it would cost for me to actually use one of the harvested organs, but that would also be a problem.
Ooh, that is a good question. How much would it cost?
What if the person you paying to rent off your body to harvest an organ off of it, like what if they don't take care of that organ the whole time?
See?
Yeah, like Pedro's pancreas.
You didn't pay $150 and you still got diabetes. That's fucking
like man, I paid him. All he had to do was just drink water and no soda for a year. Gave me back my pancreas back. It was in worse shape.
Wait, did you say Diet Dr. Pepper or regular Dr. Pepper?
Pancreas secreting Splendor.
Come on. Hey, did you see that Instagram post I put up on y'all?
Didn't. That might be a good thing.
I put up an Instagram story talking shit about Pedro and his ways when you go out to the nightclubs. You gotta watch out for him. Anyways.
Oh, I didn't see it.
They reference you. It's on the High Score Instagram story.
Oh,
it talks about you too, Aaron.
You gonna slip some insulin into a woman's drink when she's not looking? I'm hoping someone squirts some insulin into his. I turn my head. Hopefully they put insulin in it.
I was gonna say you got it the wrong way now.
If you're gonna put the date rape drugs, please put insulin in with it.
Yeah.
It's the only way I'm gonna live through that.